Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to get started here with a demo of the new Teams meeting experience. I'm going to go ahead and join my meeting here from my computer. One way you can tell if you have some of the new features of Teams is you have this test mic and speaker in the preview before you join your meeting. So the test mic and speaker is new. And when we join the meeting, if you have the new Teams meeting experience, your meeting controls are at the top and they are centered in Microsoft Teams. So if I turn on my camera and I have a virtual background of the DeKalb logo, I grew up in DeKalb, Illinois, where I first worked for McDonald's Corporation. I worked at the McDonald's Oasis in DeKalb, Illinois. That is why I've got the virtual background of DeKalb selected. And this is an Ask Me Anything opportunity for both Microsoft Teams and for the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Program. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat here, and I will open the comments tab and see if we can add that to the meeting so that I can monitor that from another device here. Just see if anybody has questions related to the Microsoft MVP program or anything else we're here to talk about today. So let me pop into my meeting. Let's see if it'll show up here. Doesn't look like it's showing up just yet on Facebook, which is interesting. Let's see if it's over on LinkedIn or YouTube. Let's check YouTube next. Just need to find it one place. Doesn't really matter where, because it should be broadcasting to all those different locations. So we'll go and we'll take a look at it. There we go. And there I can see if there are questions. So the first thing you'll notice about the new meeting experience is the controls are centered. I have under the More menu now things like record, transcribe, facilitator, some of the AI features that include Copilot. Copilot is out here front and center. But things like the timer, if I'm wanting to time my meeting to make sure my meeting stays on time, I can bring up the timer, set a time, and start the timer for everyone in the meeting. That's my reminder to see if in StreamYard, I don't know if I can set up after the meeting starts. I guess it does a recording automatically, so we should be good there. So I've got a recording in StreamYard. That's how I'm showing you the meeting controls, including actually leaving the meeting controls and coming back into the meeting controls. It's very easy for me to do that because I'm not using Teams to broadcast this. I'm using StreamYard, and that's why you see two videos with two virtual backgrounds. You can see I have the effects and avatars in the test mic and speaker. That's new. The ability to make sure I can hear. Yes, I can hear, and then I can do a quick recording, and the recording will play back. Yes, I can hear. And then I have now confirmed my speaker volume is turned up and my microphone is working properly prior to joining the meeting. Now, once I'm in the meeting, I have all of those settings that I can set defaults to, and you'll notice that the timer now is actually pinned to the top. I can unpin or I can reset the meeting controls. So if I have a meeting that I am not planning to use the timer, maybe I'm planning to record or transcribe, I can drag those items up here. I can pin those items here. So facilitator, right click, pin. And then I can leave the other items down here in the More menu. The other thing Microsoft added at some point, this isn't specific to the new meeting experience, is the Zoom functionality and keyboard shortcut for both the regular Teams window as well as the meeting window. So if you've ever sat in a meeting and wished, oh man, I wish I could see all of the people attending this meeting, as opposed to a very few number based on how large the font is, you can zoom in and out. Control minus makes everything smaller so I can fit more participants on the people tab. The chat becomes smaller so I can fit more chat activity. And if the chat activity is too small or the people are too small to read comfortably, I can make them bigger. And then just like regular Teams meetings, I can make those chat icon by clicking on it available to the right. And then I can click on it again or click on the X to make it disappear and make my screen or whatever I'm doing in the meeting larger. The share button in Microsoft Teams on this computer is giving me the current share experience. On one of my other computers with the new Teams meeting experience, I actually have the new share experience as well. So I haven't figured out exactly why that happens, what versioning or setting I have that gives me the new share experience versus the old share experience. On one computer, Teams actually said, hey, you have the new meeting experience available. Would you like to use it? Yes or no? And by saying yes, that's how I got the new meeting experience in Microsoft Teams in the first place. So watch for that. It's coming for the preview. And the way that you check if you have the preview, first you have to have an admin set this up. And then under settings in the main Teams window, about Teams on the lower left, that's where you enable early access in the public preview. And then you get information about the targeted release and the version of Teams that you have installed, etc. So if anybody has questions, feel free to ask. These are the types of things that Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals get access to and are incented to provide feedback to Microsoft on. My areas of contributions include Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Surface devices. So this is a Surface Studio, a 28-inch desktop computer, if you will, that supports touch and supports many of the Windows 11 features that we have come to be familiar with, as well as some that you may not have experienced, like the left taskbar alignment. If I go into the taskbar alignment, you'll notice that I can set my taskbar to the top. I can tell it to use the smaller icons or the larger icons. So if I tell it to use the default, and tell it to make my taskbar buttons with labels or without labels, I can do that. And then as I move the taskbar to the left, in this case, I've got the longer names of the icons, or I can tell it to hide when the taskbar is full or always hide. Then I just get the little squared icons for Outlook or Edge or Teams, etc. on the left-hand side. So this is a Windows Insiders or preview program that I have set up on this computer with some of the experimental features. And then under feature flags is where I was able to tell it enable the alternate taskbar positions. And so as an MVP, those are things that we test, we provide Microsoft feedback on, how we like them, any technical issues we've ran into. I actually have an update waiting on this computer. So the update is to Windows 11 Insider Preview quality updates. So we get incented to test Windows updates, Surface updates, newer Surface hardware. From a Copilot perspective, features like Facilitator and Copilot itself. So I'm in a Teams meeting, and it's been going on for quite a while. Well, I put the transcription up here on the taskbar or on the meeting bar, and if I click on the transcript, I can start transcription services for this Teams meeting. And I can also tell it that I want to use Microsoft Facilitator. Microsoft Facilitator allows a AI generated service to also help me with my meeting and with tasks within my meeting. And I just started playing around with Facilitator's voice capabilities, which I get to by going into Facilitator and then telling it that I want to use the voice capabilities. And it doesn't look like I necessarily have those functions here on this computer. Switch to live captions. But on my other computer, I actually had the ability to turn on Facilitator's voice transcription as well. So you can see that the meeting controls are centered. And then as I remove the controls from up here, maybe it's under transcription. Nope, it was under Facilitator. And then I can turn Facilitator on and off by toggling. Same thing with transcription. So somebody was asking me how you toggle on and off the transcription. It looks like I do it this way by toggling it on and off. And then in the meeting chat, I should be able to ask Facilitator. It might actually have to be turned on to call it into the meeting. Let's play around with that a little bit. Turn Facilitator back on. And let's see if we can @mention Facilitator. We can. So it looks like you can only @mention Facilitator if it's turned on. Summarize the meeting so far. And so Facilitator was turned on for about 5 minutes or less, and then it was turned on for just very recently. So we can see what a Facilitator summary comes up with so far. We talked to Facilitator and Facilitator usage and meeting controls. Nothing about Windows was mentioned. The reason for that is because I didn't turn on the transcript or Facilitator. So just like if you come to a Teams meeting late, Facilitator, if you don't turn it on immediately, along with the transcript, doesn't necessarily have the ability to go back into a meeting and catch up quickly. But if I had the transcript turned on at the beginning, the transcript is available to both Copilot as well as features like Facilitator. So this is an easy way to give you some concrete examples of things that Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals do for Microsoft. What do community contributions look like? If you have questions, feel free to toss them into the chat, and I will be happy to answer those. I'm getting all sorts of MVP related updates here. Let's see if I can turn some of those off. Where did I go to Outlook to turn those off here? Let's just tell it to turn off my notifications here. I think I have to tell it focus mode, turn on focus mode. Let's see if I can find focus mode here. There we go, focus mode turned on. The clock needs an update. Looks like the clock needs an update for focus mode to turn on, and that just avoids some of those pop-ups in the lower right-hand corner. So these are the kinds of things that MVPs do. We test things for Microsoft. We test things early. We get early access to them. Sometimes that comes through the MVP program. Sometimes that just comes through knowing how to get that early access. So here's my focus mode. I've turned it on for 20 minutes, and the focus mode will just mean that I don't get interrupted for the next 20 minutes. You can also go into Windows Key X on Windows 10 or 11, and there is a mobility center that shows up on laptops. I'm on a desktop, so I don't see the mobility center, but the mobility center has a presentation mode that avoids some of those interruptions as well. So that's a bit about the new meeting experience. Now we've had facilitator running for approximately another 5 minutes. So if I say facilitator, where and what was mentioned about Windows 11, provide a summary in a table format. Let's see if facilitator can do that for me. Now, so far, we've talked about Windows 11 at the very beginning. We talked about the Insiders program. And most recently, we talked about some things specific to facilitator. Let's see if we can make sure facilitator is prompted. Doesn't look like the @ symbol facilitator took the first time, so let's do it again with the @ facilitator and see if we can get facilitator to do some work for us. There we go. It's reasoning, thinking about what was said, reviewing the transcript, and it's generating our output. Dan Ray explained that you can hit the Windows key X on Windows 10 or 11 to access the Mobility Center, which is available on laptops. It includes a presentation mode. And that is what it got so far. So the other features that I have seen are I can stop transcription. That means during the meeting, the facilitator function should be able to reason across this meeting and the things we've talked about. Let's say summer vacation, or gardens come up, or cornfields come up. Facilitator should be able to answer questions related to that without using the transcript because, or using the immediate transcript because it's in the meeting just like any other participant. So I can ask facilitator by doing the @ symbol and typing facilitator, where was corn or vacations mentioned? We can see if facilitator has the ability to provide us any of that. No references to corn or vacations were found in the meeting transcript or chat. And we can take a look at the show transcript and see that it was down to make sure facilitator is prompted. And then we stopped the transcription. If we go to live captions show us what's happening actively in the meeting. So one of the things that I had a colleague asking me about at work was if facilitator would understand was corn or vacations mentioned in this meeting. And so playing around with some of these features is one of the benefits of being an MVP. Is by getting the new meeting experience, I get some of the new capabilities related to facilitator and transcripts. And so I have the ability to toggle on and off facilitator. If I toggle off facilitator, what that should mean is the facilitator tagging stops, so I can't @ facilitator anymore. And without the transcript, it looks like the meeting doesn't have a transcript available. And as such, we would have to go back through live captions or have somebody repeat something if you missed it. Hey, what was that about corn and, its growth, or DeKalb and its connection to corn. DeKalb Ag Research started in DeKalb, Illinois, and had seed corn as what they did, and then hybrid varieties of seed corn. So the share experience on this computer is the current share experience with screen or windows. The new share experience gives you a preview before it shares something. So if I share the screen in the old experience, my screen is being shared. If I have more than one screen, maybe I'm sharing the wrong screen. I do get this little reminder in the lower right that I don't think you can see through StreamYard because it probably doesn't show you that. But you can only stop sharing or share the correct screen or window in the first place. In the new sharing experience for Teams, you'll get the ability to see a preview of what you're about to share before you go ahead and share it. So it's kind of a two-step process, which is nice. You can see in StreamYard that I'm using a virtual background of the MHQ, the McDonald's headquarters meeting rooms. And we have a dual screen setup in many, and we have single screens as well at McDonald's headquarters. So if you have any questions, feel free to toss them in. I don't see any on YouTube. So we will continue on with a couple other things about the meeting experience. The new meeting experience includes things like video and effects and audio settings. We looked at the audio settings before you actually join the meeting. That testing is in preview. The other thing that Microsoft has finally put into preview mode is the ability for you to now navigate to teams.cloud.microsoft, whether you type it in or not. So if I go to teams.microsoft.com, one of the things the new meeting experience will do is redirect me to the new URL. So as the magnifier loads up here, and we load teams.microsoft.com v2, what we should see happen in the browser, and I set some of the new magnifier functions, which include inverting the display. I believe that was under See All settings to invert the display and make it black on white or dark mode. What we should see as it loads is teams.cloud.microsoft is what the browser will redirect me to. And then there's a message in the browser that the new URL for Teams is teams.cloud.microsoft. I have been testing that URL for probably about 18 months now. And that's another advantage of being a Microsoft MVP, is you get wind of new features and new functionality like this before it becomes publicly available. So you have a chance to test it out or see how those services are going to work. It looks like it's waiting for me to choose a particular tenant, and then it's going to go into that tenant. If we go to teams.cloud.microsoft, we'll make sure it goes in as the right account to that experience. And then the reason I'm getting the dark mode is because of a magnifier setting that I set. So if I close magnifier, it'll go back to the old view. There we see teams.cloud.microsoft at the top. And we see some of the messages that came through that meeting. So we have video and audio effects. Video effects include the ability to upload new images. And if I upload the image from MHQ, which sits in my OneDrive, it starts with IMG. We can load that new MHQ background and then select that background and apply it. So now, both in the meeting as well as in StreamYard, it looks like I'm in one of the McDonald's headquarters meeting rooms. So we've got 9 minutes based on the focus mode that I set up. I'm going to head over to Facebook one more time, see if it's caught up there to the fact that I'm on Facebook Live. And if it doesn't catch up, or if for some reason it didn't go live on Facebook, that's not a big deal. LinkedIn was the other place that I set up. Let's see if it's on LinkedIn here. And if we've had anybody tune in directly. The other thing that I'm going to do with this particular video is make it into a item that I can share on my newsletter for LinkedIn. So by making it part of my newsletter, that will let me share it with a couple thousand people that have subscribed to my newsletter on LinkedIn. So let's see if that's going to load here. There we go. Go into my profile. From my profile, we can see if we see the activity. And then from the activity, we can see if we see the live event. I don't see it from the activity view. Let's see if I request desktop, if it gets any better. Bear with me, folks, while I see if I can see this view. That's weird. It's not letting me redirect to the right URL for the desktop experience on my phone. So I'm getting an error message that the page doesn't exist because the page is a little different on the desktop versus the laptop. Let's see if I can grab the correct URL and then tell it to show the desktop page and then correct the URL. Looks like it's still loading the old experience. Let's see if it's going to have the option for let's see if it's under notifications that I'm live. Don't see them there either. So this is either only on YouTube or it's on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it's hiding under those. And that could explain why I don't necessarily see the comments in the application. Is if people aren't seeing it on those platforms, they're probably less likely to comment. So I'll check that afterwards. It does look like I can post Microsoft MVP or Teams, Surface, etc. Now, if I turn back on Facilitator and the transcript, what we can do here is go back into our chat, see if Facilitator is turned back on. Doesn't look like Facilitator toggled on, probably because the transcript was off. There we go. Facilitator's been turned on and it's taking notes. And we have the transcript turned back on. bulleted list. Let's see if I can come up with topics that we've talked about so far. Pulling anything on the agenda. I didn't use an agenda for this meeting, but theoretically you can set up agendas, Windows Mobility Center, MVP program and early access, focus mode and notifications, meeting controls, facilitator usage, and introduction to facilitator. Now it's the end of July, and as we enter August at the end of this week, on this weekend, we are in one of the last months or the mid-month, I guess you could say, of summer. And summer runs from late June to late September. So the August timeframe puts us about halfway through the season, and that is a season that is typically tied to the two topics that we talked about here. So a lot of people like to spend their summers doing various activities, summer activities, and scheduling vacations, family vacations, because kids are off school. And maybe somebody, like a parent, likes to garden. I know we had a garden growing up. My mother made or planted tomatoes, corn, cucumbers, carrots. She had all sorts of different varieties of plants at our home when I was growing up. She even planted rhubarb. She loved rhubarb. So those were things that I had in our garden growing up. Now that it's been mentioned in the meeting, we could go back and ask the same question, and facilitator, along with the transcript, should be able to provide me some of that information. And because the transcript is available after the meeting, we should be able to also do an AI summary after the meeting. So it looks like in the case of both the transcript and the facilitator functionality, these can now be toggled on and off during the meeting. And if they're turned off, it appears that it would be like stepping out of the meeting. So if I stop transcription or recording, the meeting portion that was recorded is available, or transcribed is available, but the part that wasn't transcribed, it'd be like you had maybe an executive sidebar in the meeting and you had everybody that wasn't on the executive committee leave the room. They are not privy to the discussion that was had while they were gone. And then when they come back, if you turn back on recording and or transcription, the meeting notes can be transcribed with that information. So these are actually toggles now. There is no like submenu except for show transcript. So I can see what's in the transcript, but I can turn off transcription or turn off facilitator during a meeting in the new meeting experience. So folks, we've been going for 30 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and end our meeting. I do so by, in this case, turning off transcription, stopping the facilitator. So once I've turned those off, they notify me that transcription's turned off and facilitator is no longer available and I can't mention it in the comments. And then I could either stop my meeting or I can stop my stream. And because I'm using StreamYard to stream, I can stop the stream or remove my screen and make my video just the only thing that's being sent out to StreamYard live. I do have one message that I typed, ask me anything, Microsoft MVP or Teams, Surface, etc. Because we're on a Surface, we're using the insider build of Windows, and we've taken a look at several different examples of things that I have done for the Microsoft community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end our session. Thanks for joining me today. See you later, everybody.